So I'm going to talk about. I brought this up a couple of weeks ago because I just started, but I finished this week. Um, the Girl Who Could Move Shit with Her Mind by Jackson Ford, which is a book I picked up in Waterstones purely on the title. Literally judged this book by its cover and its title, because anyone who can put a book out with a title like that must be doing something great. And you know what? He didn't.
Oh no.
This was okay. So I'll kind of preface that around that. So the book is about a kind of 20-something woman called Tegan, who, as the book title says, she can move shit with her mind. She's got psychokinesis. She works for a kind of very shady kind of government agency. She had a very traumatic past, being experimented on by the US government, as anyone with superpowers would. You know, the US government would find you, they would test on you. It's their thing. But she's working with these, doing kind of secretly spy things, and she basically means, you know, she can walk into places, open locks without leaving fingerprints, hack, you know, put things in places where they shouldn't be. And they do a job which goes badly, they make an escape, and then the next day the target who they were surveilling at this previous job dies in a way that only someone with psychokinesis could do. And obviously the old suspicion goes on to Tegan, and Tegan has fully believed her entire life she's the only one with this power. And there we go. That's how the story starts and goes. And the thing is, the book makes a very, very good first impression. It's very funny. It's very witty. Tegan as a character is quite likable. It's one of those books that's written from the first person perspective, so you basically get most of her internal monologue, and some of it is incredibly funny or endearing, or, you know, you feel bad for about some things. But then as the book goes on, and I found this a lot with people who do kind of pulpy sci-fi fantasy novels, especially when it's kind of male writers with female characters, it gets a little bit torture porny in a bad way, because because there is action happening around her and things happening, like, you know, people are trying to capture her because of her powers and stuff like that. There is a lot of Tegan being effectively assaulted in various different ways. So, like, she gets hit by a taser, she gets hit by a car, she gets soldiers chasing after her, kind of gripping her and holding her down. And a lot of this stuff is written in fantastic detail, but in a really uncomfortable way. And I don't think it sticks the landing it wants to. There's a second perspective character in it that you basically, most of the chapters are based around Tegan, but there are some chapters based around another character. And when it's his bit of the story, it goes into third and second person writing, which is really jarring to switch from first to third person like that. It just doesn't work for me. It also suffers that thing that I think a lot of action comedy books and films suffer with, when you kind of get to the last act. The writer is not able to transfer from comedy to tension properly. Mm-hmm. So you get a lot of quite horrific stuff happen in a really kind of kludgy way. And it was really disappointing because it made such a good impression, and the title is fantastic, but it doesn't stick it. And I think the problem is, I think if Jackson Ford had written this as the guy who could move shit with his mind, I think it would come off better, because I don't think he's very good at writing women. Yeah. And especially with the amount of abuse that Tegan goes throughout the story, I think it would have been a less uncomfortable read if it was happening to a man rather than a woman. Simply because it's a man writing it. Yeah. It's I don't want to say it's like voyeuristic or anything like that, but it just seems excessive what she goes through. And he's having to push her through this story, and like she's constantly explaining, like, you know, a psychokinesis takes from her physical energy to use the psychokinesis. And she's having to use it in bigger and bigger ways to get out of these experiences. So it's constantly talking about how much in pain she is, how tired she is, how exhausted she is. And then bang, something else comes in, starts hitting her, and she's like being knocked to the ground by a flying mailbox or something like that. And then it goes on about how much in pain she is. And it's just like, how much of this book is this poor girl in pain for a really poor payoff at the end? And it's just like, nah, I wouldn't recommend this book to people. And the thing
you're
is,
doing it so we don't have to.
Yeah, the guy's written a series on these ones, because I think the second book's called Random Shit Flying Everywhere or something like that.
It's a shame, because that title's a
title's banging. Absolute 10 out of 10 title, but it's a proper 5 out of 10 book, which I'm really sad about. So, but yeah,
the word shit as well by the looks of it.
So yeah, the Girl Who Can Move Shit with Her Mind by Jackson Ford. Don't read it.
Solid 5 out of 10.
Yep. Save
It's
your
shit.
time and money for something else.
5 out of 10 is not shit. 5 out of 10 is one of those
I
you see it for
know.
99p
Disappointing.
somewhere.
Yeah. Like if you can get it for free on Kindle Unlimited or something like that, give it
Yeah.
a blast. But it's definitely not worth you putting some hard cash down.